Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Red with a Splash of White podcast. It is episode number 6, so we're making our way rightly through it. And this week, again, of course, looking at the Premier League action, give our thoughts and what we thought about it. First game, obviously, is Manchester United versus Southampton, which finished up, as much as the Saints fans won't want to hear this, 9-0. I mean, two red cards were the real big difference, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, we're all in agreement that the Bednarak one shouldn't have been a red card, but obviously the Yankowicz one was. As what in my mind is this a game United needed for the players that weren't performing that well to get their performance levels back. They really needed it. They turn the tide. Goals from Wan-Bissaka, Martial got it twice, obviously. Very obviously, as soon as the red cards happened, the goals were flying in. Obviously, in the last couple of minutes of the game. But it was a game. It was still poor from Southampton, but what can you do?
That only red card was a killer. United to control that. 9-0. It could have been more maybe. But I think it's even Southampton, even being down to 9 men at one point. I don't think that can happen. 9-0.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you have to sort of take control at some stage and say, right.
Yes, I shut up shop and hang in there a bit. But I fair play United. They took advantage and punished them.
Yeah, I mean, Southampton only had one shot on goal. I mean, because we can't really expect much from 10 players, never mind 9 players. Was it that United were that good? I mean, I know you just said fair play to United, but was it that they were so good, or that Southampton just were completely hampered by the 2 red cards, and we just sort of went over that? But
it was game over the minute that I think that first red card happened. We couldn't attack then. Sort of Ings nearly up front then himself. I think sort of pushed Che Adams out a bit wider or something. So they had no threat then. They were just completely isolated. And once they even when a few goals went in, then the confidence is going to get even lower, which doesn't help things. Which just led to goal after goal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously this 9-0 loss is there's a little bit more sympathy for them because of the 2 red cards compared to the Leicester 9-0 where it was just there was no passion, heart, or desire in that game. Obviously, they scored a goal, which was ruled out for the tightest of offside margins, which seems to be the way the game's going.
It's hard to know what to say about this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you think about it, what do Southampton need? Because that's at least 3 losses on the bounce now. Obviously, they're with a lot of players injured. Probably that reason why Jankowicz started. But what do they need? Because in my head, the defense is shored up. The defense is pretty good. Obviously, with Vestergaard and Bednarak or Stevens when he plays as well. Walker Peters had a good season. Again, Bertrand again. Always forget Bertrand. Having has a good performances as well. And Ings, obviously, it's the fact that they need more. What I think it is they need a lot more creativity.
Yeah,
they've brought in these players. Gineppo has his flurries whenever he plays. Ward-Prowse, obviously, dead ball specialist. He's great, good player as well. He can play everywhere. But what do you think they need?
I think it was how we even discussed it last week. They need like another number 10, maybe in there that can dribble with it and take a man on, beat a player. Maybe another winger as well. There's probably a few in there. Like 10, thanks priority.
Yeah, I mean, you think of their wingers they have at the moment. They obviously have Redmond, Walcott. Who's out on the left?
Gineppo.
Well, yeah, Gineppo, and then the guy is he the guy that got sent off? Or if I just
No.
Oh yeah, he's a centre midfielder.
He's a centre. Oh yes,
Yankovic.
Sorry. Yes, they seem sort of a wing, not covered, but they seem to have a wee bit of a. They have more wingers than they do attacking midfielders. I mean, you sort of think of their attacking midfielders, Ward-Prowse, but he's more of a converted. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder as opposed to just an out-and-out attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
I think I would agree. The attacking midfield is definitely where they need to shore up. But I mean, as we said, there's not really much. Not that there isn't much to say about this game. I mean, United obviously were very good. They took their chances. We don't win 9-0 with it being some level of or playing some form of a decent game.
Yeah.
But it's a weird game.
You're lucky.
No, go ahead.
The last 3 matches they've had United, they've had Villa at home, and then Arsenal at home. That's three tough enough games, especially the way Villa's playing at the minute. Hopefully it's just a bad patch and they can play out of it.
Yeah.
Because I like Hasenhüttl.
Yeah, Hasenhüttl. I think he's a good manager. I mean, at the start of the season, they were top of the league at one stage. It was sort of only for a brief period of time, but you don't get to top of the league without some form of an organisation and a team. But yeah,
that 9-0 will hurt. Like that'll hurt him.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he recovered from it once before.
That's big performance this weekend. I think he'll come back from it. Yeah.
Do you think Minamino will have much effect?
I mean, offers a number 10. There we go. Actually,
do you think he'll have much effect on them, or do you think?
Who knows?
Obviously, from what we've seen, he's played well at Liverpool when he has played.
Yep.
He's had some good flurries, but
I don't know if.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from an outsider's perspective, sort of given that side of things, I mean, he did it for Salzburg in the Champions League, so there's talent there. I mean, Klopp is known for buying. I mean, off the top of my head, sort of Andy Robertson or Matip. Those types of players that you're like, you might be good, you might be, but also you're not really sure. So I mean, Klopp seen something in him. Klopp didn't go and buy him for the crack of it, in particularly when it was his title-winning season. And he's got the pace to play out wide, so he can be a bit of a winger, he can be a bit of a number 10. I mean, I'd be interested to see how him and Ings do.
There's no reason he can't go in there and be the main man. Take control of that team.
Yeah, well, from sort of a pulling the strings perspective. They're away to Newcastle this weekend, and obviously Newcastle are coming off.
That's a big game.
Exactly for both sides. Southampton sort of need to win to get back on track, sort of prove that 9-0 was just a fluke, and Newcastle need to win to sort of save Steve Bruce's skin.
Because they sort of went back to square one after beating Everton.
Yeah, exactly. After us giving him so much sticking and they go and do that, but then we don't say anything about him, and now he's back to porridge. I think that should be an interesting game. It's a very important game, I suppose. Is the real thing. I think we sort of, as we said, there's not much to say. I think we've discussed all that we can really discuss in terms of United and Southampton. Yeah. We haven't really discussed United, but that's because there's nothing really to discuss. I mean, we said they were fair play to them for getting the result, but it's against a 9-man Southampton team. Moving on from United, big win against the Southampton, to Brighton, and a big win against the reigning champions. I know we've just said that there wasn't very much to say about the United game, but I know you still will have a lot to say on this game. So I suppose it's an open floor.
I'll start. I don't know where to start. It was just awful from start to finish. Just even looking at the teams again, like you started with Shaqiri at the left. Shaqiri, I think, is far better in behind the striker. Like he gets on the ball more. He looked completely isolated out in the left. Early on in the game, I felt comfortable. I had never thought we were going to lose. Always felt confident. Brighton pressed us early from the start, to be fair to them. Forced us to kick it long, and then their giant 6'7", what do you call him? do you call it? Burn. And Lewis Dunk, they just won the headers. We're not going to compete in there with them.
Right.
Won every 50-50, won everything. Ran quicker, done everything, but far better than us. And thirdly, deserved the result. There's no other way I can really say it. Maybe if Salah scored out that chance early on, could have been a different game. But
yeah,
we were woeful, and Brighton were excellent.
Yeah. Again, I find very, very well played from Brighton defensively, of course. Was very disappointed to see how much Burnley got down that left-hand side. Realistically, he was just dominating both sides of the ball. As to whether it was Alzate or Trossard's goal, that's debatable. I don't think both teams. Obviously, we didn't play as well, of course, as we should have. But I don't think it was a point of us playing brutal. I think it was more of a point that both teams, that Brighton defended very well, and that they're getting blocks 24/7. Every shot was blocked nearly. But what I found that the goal was a stroke of luck, that it just Phillips kicked it and it had off both of them and went on. It was annoying to watch that we couldn't get anything out of it, but I think it's on the same line as the Burnley game, where we found they're all dropping back every time we attack, couldn't get anything through. So I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised as to how much Brighton defended, to be honest. But fair play to them. Fair play to them, as usual.
It's one of the ones, obviously, missing Van Dijk this year and Gomez. If this was a game like last year, and it was 0-0, still pretty tight. That ball goes in that box. Gomez or Van Dijk clear that ball, and Phillips slices it. It's just on a different day. And then I think as this year with injuries, we're getting found out. Burnley, a prime example, and then that Brighton game, they punished us. But we need far more from the front men. Well, the fair Mane was out, and Salah's scored in the last few games, but even getting those shots, I don't think the keeper barely made a save.
Yeah, I think that was one of the stats I wrote down, was one shot on target, and the Brighton keeper made one save. I mean, it's just, I understand Mane's out, and I'm a big fan of Mane, but even still, even with a backup, you'd expect to more than one shot on target and one save from the opposition keeper.
We went back to them and crappy crosses again early on, just throw it in, and even when Salah goes for headers, he doesn't jump. There's no point in crossing into him. He's not going to want a header.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're not big men. Like, they're not going to compete against like Lewis Dunk and boys like that.
Yeah, I suppose that's the argument. But I mean, I was going to say that they're not big men, but I mean, Mane can head a ball. You know, whenever he gets up, you know, he knows.
Even Firmino as well can.
Yeah. But of course, you're missing the two. What about? I mean, as we say, fair play to Brighton. They've beaten Spurs and Liverpool now. I mean, not that Spurs have been too great recently. We'll come on to them. Unbeaten in 4 league games. I want to sort of ask. I didn't really watch the whole game, but what do we think about Ben White? I mean, obviously, I'm a massive fan of him. As much as it pains me to say it, what was he like against you?
I thought he was pretty good. I don't know if he actually had much to do. I think Dunk and Byrne were far more busier than him.
Yeah.
I think that might do the fact with Shaqiri was up against Ben White. Shaqiri didn't get a kick of it.
Yeah.
But no, I think everything that came to him he dealt with well. He had confidence. So
yeah. You know, obviously, Klein. What did you think the same or?
Yeah. He's been. No, it's amazing as well how versatile he's been, playing really everywhere. I think it's a player where they've wanted him. They have that many they have that many centre backs in the squad that they're trying to branch him out into other positions, see how he does. Obviously in the game, I think it was against you, he played centre mid.
Yeah.
He played very well. I'm impressed. I really am. Obviously you would take him back. I think you would take him back any day.
Absolutely.
But fair play to him. He got realistically in my mind what he wanted, which was more money.
Yeah.
Fair play, but where he's playing now, he's doing very well, and he's good luck to him. He's a bright spot.
Yeah.
What about go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What about even like Bissouma again in midfield?
Yeah.
He's an absolute beast.
Yeah,
He's around that midfield.
Yeah.
I think I even tweeted out if Ronaldo does go in the summer, I think Bissouma would be the man.
I was about to say that.
Bissouma would be the man to replace him.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Bissouma. I mean, Bissouma just reminds me of a Wilfred and Ndidi type player, big, strong, just protects that defense and does his job.
Everything just looks so easy for him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a bad. It's obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
You've always signed two centre halves now in Davies and Kodak. Close. I was thinking of the camera. Obviously they'll take time to bed in, but would you like to see them in the lineup sooner rather than later? I mean, obviously you're City next, but maybe not City game, maybe the game after that, or what do you think?
I'm still stuck between that. I wouldn't mind if he started against City. I wouldn't mind, but it's just going to that one. If he makes one mistake or does something, he's going to get absolutely hammered for it.
Yeah.
Without people realizing it's his first game, I don't think there's any problem that we throw them in there, see what he can do.
Yeah.
Get Push Henderson back into midfield. We need to start getting confidence going again and get our full team out or close to.
You need that energy in midfield again from Henderson, obviously. That's a big miss.
Well, they definitely seem as if he's eager in a way. You see Kabak 24/7 on his Twitter posting about loving to be here, ready to play, and he's obviously a young player. He's heard good things from him. Obviously Schalke are having a poor season, but he's one of the bright spots that he had. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Maybe. Definitely, as soon as we can get Henderson back into the midfield, but it's maybe not this weekend, of course, but it'll be good to see him.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we just talked there and talking about the Southampton United game about Minamino coming into Southampton. I've sort of seen throughout Twitter whenever the Brighton game is being played, just the frustration with Origi and the lack, or I was going to say what he's doing, what he isn't doing for the team, the lack of what he's doing for the team. Would you have rather seen Origi go out on loan or be sold than Minamino, or do you think that was the right choice?
I don't really know anymore with Origi. Obviously, he's had the game winners. He's had the games in the last couple of seasons where he's came on or he started and he's had worldies. He's had some great games, scored goals. Obviously, Champions League final he scored. But what I find with Origi now in my mind, I think Origi's turned into Benteke. What happened with Benteke at us? What happened with Andy Carroll at us? He's now becoming a player that doesn't fit the style anymore. That he's now lost in the system. I think we're now playing two. We should be playing. If you look at Bobby, you look at Sal, and look at Mane, three quick players. I'm not saying Origi's slow. He's not, but they're all quick reactions, agile players. Flair can turn a ball on a dime. Origi's not that player. Really, sometimes he does it, and then we stick him out the wing, and we have no flipping reason why he's on the wing. I would have liked to have seen Minamino stay. I would have liked to have seen Minamino be at the club. Obviously, getting him out and experience is the best thing for him. Southampton with space for a player, of course, that's a great great thing to do. I think Origi will go soon, summer if not January next season. But I think he is going to go at some point.
He just seems like a player who's happy now. He's sitting on the bench and earning his money.
Yeah.
He's not good enough to play for Liverpool anymore, even being a bench player. I get 20 million for him and sell him on. That's all I have to say. I know he's been rubbish. Like, I don't want to slate him, but he's been rubbish.
Yeah. So I think we've sort of given more thoughts.
Shout out to Graham Potter. Graham Potter's.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Great. He keeps going the way he's going. Like, no doubt, one of the so-called bigger teams will probably have an eye on him. Play great football. It's good to watch.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on from the Liverpool game to your, I would say, obviously both think we've talked about it. Your biggest rivals in the title race, in Manchester City, they played Burnley away to Burnley at Turf Moor and they won 2-0. That now makes it 12 wins in a row for City in the league. We're really beginning to see City return to that season they won the league. Centurions 1 year, and then the year that they beat you by a point to the title. We're really beginning to see that City again. Obviously not a good thing for you, but I mean, in terms of the football they're playing, it's a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah. Back to the rest. I just arrived home from work and it was seeing a goal City 3 minutes in. I just it was game over from there. They're not Burnley had to hang in. Burnley had to hang in there even to half time.
Yeah, they were lucky to keep it at 2-0.
Oh, they were lucky, exactly. Like 804 passes from City to 271.
Which for Burnley is actually quite a lot. 271 passes for Burnley seems quite a lot, actually.
And was it they didn't? Oh, go ahead.
And also, just another point, they had no shots on target at all. But I suppose that's what they're used to. So, you know.
And like the shot came like the 94th minute or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But you know, Burnley, no matter how crap Burnley already put it, still it's Turf Moor is always a tough place to go.
Absolutely.
That's a pain to say it, but yeah, fair play, City. Back to the rest.
Yeah. Klein, we talked about. I think we talked about last week about KDB being out. And I have it down here. No KDB, no problem. Sterling and Jesus stepping up, but also Gundogan. I'm just going to stick with Gundogan. He's stepping up and he's finding his form that we thought he would find.
Yep.
I don't know what I was asking. I was just
no, I don't. 100%. As I've said the last couple of podcasts, Gundogan, very, very impressive at the minute. I think it was very uncharacteristic, the first goal. Pope were weird palm out. Obviously, the shot had power from Bernardo Silva, but it was a bit odd. It was very odd to see him palm out a shot. It was very weird. Obviously, it went straight to Jesus, and Jesus tapped it in. What I had down Sterling, great team goal. Obviously, layoff from I think it was Mahrez, but I'm not 100% sure on that. To Gundogan, and then a Gundogan across the box to Sterling in front of goal. I think what Pep's got them to do, of course, with KDB being out, it's the step up now of who's next. Who's next on the team? They're playing very impressive. Obviously, City have always been impressive for these last nearly decade. But I want to bring back something that we talked about near the start of when we first started the podcast. Laporte now being back, and he's been playing at left. He's played at left back there this week. Do you think this is now he needs to? There's this competition between him, Stones, and Diaz. Do you think who will come up in the end as being the starting two?
Like Praco in your head, really.
No. I'm just thinking.
I was supposed to. I think it'll be Laporte and Diaz. I think Stones will be probably frozen out again. Just like even you probably all agree in general, Laporte's a better player than John Stones and both fit and flying. Like,
yeah, no, I would disagree, but I would say that it'll be Laporte and Stones. I think obviously Laporte's the starting centre half. Obviously, he's always going to be on there. I just think, and maybe
you go drop Diaz.
See, I suppose he's just spent that 60 million on him, so I've not taken into account of what.
I suppose sort of he's just came in. That's on all the clean sheets have started.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Paul will be Laporte Diaz. And if that's the case, if John Stones want to come to Leeds,
no.
Every centre back Leeds come.
I mean, do we think that City haven't even got? I don't even think City have really gotten into like second or third gear at this stage. Obviously, at the start of the season, they struggled to find their cohesion and struggled to find their form. But I think that now they're sort of in the first or second gear and they're just cruising half the time. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
No, I tweeted saying that I wouldn't be surprised if they run away with the league, and there's no reason why they can't.
Yeah, with the squad they have particularly.
The squad they have, we have injuries. We're not going to really, I doubt, push them. United will probably fall off. It's a perfect chance for them. I think they're unbeaten in 20 games.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop them.
Did I really start? That's the longest. Maybe I misread this. It was something like it's the longest unbeaten run since like 2000. It's the longest unbeaten run in all competitions since Arsenal or something, maybe 2003. And maybe I'm wrong.
That's the longest winning run, I think.
Maybe it's the longest. That's what it is. Longest running.
13 to the 13 games.
Yes. Because it was March to April. It was March to April. Was the or not March? May to August.
March to August.
Yeah, something like
that.
Did
they not win a whole pile in a row that year they won the league? Not last year before.
Centurions.
Did not won a whole pile near towards the end of the season. That's because we could never catch them. They're always 1 or 2 points behind.
Yeah, they always kept.
14 games left, I think they were.
Did they not win all 14?
I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, right. But the stat that I read, I know was something like it's the longest run in the league since Arsenal in 2003 or something there. And maybe they got their stats wrong, but at least that's what I remember anyway.
Yep.
So I could be wrong. I think to finish on Burnley, do we think that Burnley fans, and obviously we'd need a Burnley fan on to sort of give us an answer, I suppose, but I just sort of want to get
we're not going to get many of them.
No, well, exactly. They're few and far between. Do we think that the fans are frustrated with their football that they play, or are they happy to be in the Premier League still?
I think they can't really do much really about it because I think Dyche is never going to change. I think Dyche has got stuck with a style this whole time, much like not comparing Dyche to Mourinho, but much like Mourinho's style. They've all stuck to styles of football. I think that they're never going to get a different. They're never going to change until he either gets sacked or someone comes on for him. But I just think they rely so much on the back four. They rely so much on the fact that the back five, even including Pope.
Yeah.
They just. I don't think they invest. They just don't invest. They don't invest in the club that well. Anyone they've brought in has been second tier talent, really.
Yeah.
Second tier, third tier talent. It's just the fact that it's annoying that they don't change. It's annoying that they play this negative football in the league. But who knows? Who knows how long they can still stay up for with that style? But they'll lose a lot of players definitely when they do go down. They'll lose a lot of players in that squad. Their best players: Ben Mee, Tarkowski, Pope, Charlie Taylor. Maybe he's played pretty well when he's played. Bring him back to Leeds.
We're looking at left back, I suppose. Maybe. Harbour, what do you?
No, you're right. From what I've seen, I think they like like Dyche, which I don't get. You see, as one. Oh,
I think he has his moments as a person, sort of as a personality in the Premier League. He's quite likable sometimes, but as a manager, he can be a bit of a whining so and so. He just he constantly complains about other players diving and about the decisions going against him. But whenever his players like against Leeds, when I watched them against Leeds, they were just flopping over at every opportunity. And I understand you don't have to on a free kick to get it cleared, but not like out of the park. Well, I suppose that's the modern games. Can't really say that. But he's a bit of a hypocrite sometimes. So I understand your point there.
It's like mine. I was wrote in the group chat. There's a whole lot I was saying about the investigation to Burnley about certain subjects. That sort of puts me off them big time as well. So yeah. Pros getting beat by City. Nothing. Many a team gets beat by City.
Yeah, exactly.
But no doubt they'll end up staying up again this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're pretty
we'll be
safe.
chatting about this again. Yeah.
I mean, what are they now? If you look at the table, sorry, 2 brief seconds. If you look, they're sitting in 17th, but they're 8 points clear Fulham in relegation zone, having played the same amount of games. I mean, I can't see them dropping down. I think Dyche will have the way the football they play, how hard they can be to beat. Sometimes they'll rack up the points slowly but surely. As frustrating as that is to say,
but their time will come. They can't keep doing this each year. Their time will come. They'll go down. They can't keep playing this type of football and just about staying up each year. At some point there's going to be 17 teams that are going to be playing better and getting better results than them at some stage.
Yeah.
The likes of Leeds this year came up and the Leeds are safe. West Brom and Fulham are obviously down there. There's going to be a year somebody's going to come up and a few of the teams will.
Yeah, it'll be quite congested and tight.
In Burnley, with that one, they slip away and relegated.
Because I mean, last year and the year before, I think the relegations were pretty much set from with 3 or 4 games to go. Everybody's like, surely not. They'll not sort of, they'll not get dragged in. They'll not get dragged down. So maybe that year's to come soon. Hopefully that, or next year. Hopefully that doesn't include Leeds, but still. I think we
can all agree we want Burnley down. Like we don't.
Yeah, it's the same as the sooner the big Sam decides to retire and genuinely doesn't do any Warnock and retires and then comes back because the club needs him.
West Brom as well. Yeah.
Well, it's not really Burnley. You can't really say it's Burnley anymore. It's just the Sean Dyche show, really.
Yeah.
I think Burnley fans are more there as Sean Dyche because Sean Dyche's character. I think that's what's more entertaining to them than their football.
But that's what it is. For them. Maybe I've just made that up.
I think you could be right. I think
I think at one stage he definitely played for them. But I mean, if you even look at one of the crowds were obviously allowed in the games, Burnley seemed to have like a lot of empty seats from what I remember when I was watching matches.
They do. I think even when they were in the Championship a few years ago competing, they still had plenty of empty seats.
Yeah, exactly. And that's obviously all down to do with the football. I can't imagine anything else. So yeah. Moving on from Burnley City to sort of we're now moving from the big teams to the sort of like more exciting games, so to speak. Moving to Aston Villa versus West Ham, which finished up 3-1. West Ham. I mean, West Ham bounced back off of a big defeat against yourselves to claim all 3 points again and sort of find their form again. They're now 2 points off top 4. And I know we said last week an unbelievable job done with David Moyes, but do we have to sort of obviously we have to give credit to the players, don't we, for sort of bouncing back in such a manner?
Yeah, that was a big result going away to Villa Park, especially Villa's playing. It was a big game for both sides. I think it was whoever lost was going to be like, we missed an opportunity there. West Ham took advantage of that. Starting Lingard probably was a gamble. He's not played much football. Paid off. He had a great game. Like I said, we were saying, like we might have mentioned it last week, that West Ham, they're just a lot more exciting to watch. They're not boring. If they're on TV, you'd watch them. Like Benrahma, and you've Lingard, you've Antonio. There's nice balance in the team. I didn't see it because Liverpool was on, but it sounded like it was a good game. Yeah. And even the highlights I seen looked a good game all around.
Yeah. I mean that takes West Ham 2 points off the top four, obviously off reviews, and they've played the same amount of games. I mean, Moyes has done unbelievably well. We've just mentioned Lingard there, but I mean again, Thomas Soucek stepping up and delivering once again.
Yeah. Brilliant player.
Get that man somebody's potato salad. Get it on.
Yeah. So I mean, we focus on West Ham, but I mean Villa, that's 2 wins in 7 in the league, and that's a massive fall off. I mean, they were at one stage they were top six, and they were comfortably top six with a few games in hand. Have they just had a bad sort of run of games in terms of the teams they played, or has something maybe gone wrong?
I think what has happened is the fact that I think if you look back, I think it's happened that they've got possibly cocky after the 7-2 against us. But they still have good players. That's the thing. They're still playing well. I think it's just maybe it's not the right thing to say the opposition's too good for them because they've played well most of the season. But I think what you have to think about is the fact that what we mentioned a while back is that they need more. They need more in terms of star power, maybe.
Oh,
they get up.
That's why I started.
They need more. They need more in terms of star power. Not specifically what I think, but maybe it is something they need. Grealish again playing. Grealish and Watkins linking up for the goal. They're good. They're not a bad side. That's the thing you can say. It's a game where this could go either way. It can either be a close game or one team's going to win by loads. I think it's as well with it. It's not to say surprising because it's kind of the same way you thought at the start. It was the start of the season. West Ham beat Tottenham 4-0. But both teams do have big games on them. That's the thing. And just what I think now, this game it's just West Ham that was one of them games. It's one of them games that they were there and they were ready to throw everything at it, and they did, and they won. Lingard, of course, scoring 2 goals. One was a great goal. It's the point of what I'd like to put forward. Obviously, talk about the game, follow themselves. But is this the point that is it a point at a club level now that this is a club that Lingard is going to finally reach his potential at West Ham? Is it
starting off with Villa. To be fair, they're ninth in the table. I don't think I ever sort of thought Villa would be anywhere near that at this point in the season.
Yeah.
Like they were scrapping for relegation again. I doubt we would have been that surprised, even in around maybe 16th, 17th.
Yeah.
And Klein, are you saying you asking about Lingard at that type of team, or you're saying that's what you think?
I think it's a team they can fulfill his potential for, yes. But
I agree.
Is that what you think as well?
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. A team like a West Ham, a team around that mid-table sort of fighting to take the next step. It can be like one of the main players in that team.
Exactly.
That would suit him perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think with him being if he was the talisman, the number 10 in there, I think I would sit him right down to the ground. And I think that's what West Ham maybe needs sometimes, just that bit of a flair player to sort of that drives the game forward. Not that he's a bit inconsistent, but he has it in him sometimes, Lingard. A question for the both of you. We're talking about Watkins there and obviously Grealish. England are going to take 3 strikers to let's say England takes 3 strikers to the Euros. I mean, that's what I'm assuming. How many they'll take? You've all England strikers are fit right now. Who's the 3 you take?
I know that we're going to leave somebody out here, and they'll probably come back this.
We'll leave Kane out.
Leave Bamford out, and then he can go on a roll. I'm happy days.
Bamford.
Bamford.
Kane be number one. I think Kane's
Yeah.
going to be the first in your play. First in the playing.
Oh, what a horrific expression.
Thank you. I think Vardy's going to be on there, isn't he?
Vardy's retired. Vardy's internationally retired. Maybe retired a few years ago.
We'll end the podcast there. Oh no, that's bad. Like Clyde, I've named Kane. You can text somebody else. So.
Yeah, right. I'll text someone else. Right.
I've had a nightmare.
I don't think, even though he's performed well, I don't think they'll take Ings.
Do you reckon?
I don't think they will. I don't. No, I don't think they will.
I think it's your opinion. I might be wrong.
I think obviously the last season he had a great goal scoring record. This year he started off well. He's kind of off to the wayside. I think Southgate will go younger. I think Southgate will go younger strikers to pair off with Kane. I think might be an off one, but I think he will take Tammy Abraham.
Oh no!
I think he will. I think he will take him. It's the fact that he's got a starting role at Chelsea. He's playing in and out in that striker role. He's playing semi well, and I think semi well is enough to get into the England squad at sometimes. It's just sort of a feeling. It's
Rashford's another one.
Southgate. Yeah, exactly. Well, as to whether they play him in midfield, as to whether they think of him now as a striker or a winger, that's the point.
Calvert-Lewin, he's another one.
Well, that would have been mine. I think as much as it would pay me to, I think you're going. I think you go Kane, Calvert-Lewin, Ings. I think that's the three that Southgate.
It's a massive drop off after Kane.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's not to say that. I think in terms of ability, it goes Kane, Ings, Calvert-Lewin. I think Ings offers you more than Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin. If you look at Calvert-Lewin's goals this season, they're more of a poacher striker. You know, there's no real sort of striking ability. Not that he's a bad striker, but you know what I mean. Ings has more in him in terms of striker.
I think most of Calvert-Lewin's goals are back post headers, realistically, which is possibly a tactic anybody want to go for.
Yeah, Southgate can be a bit clueless at times. Greenwood, no doubt he'd probably consider Greenwood. You know, Greenwood's not done much, but that was like you take a Greenwood and leave Ings out. That's like that when
probably bring Defoe out of retirement.
Yeah. In terms of striker, I don't know how many they will take. Probably take about 5. Would they take 5? 4 or 5, maybe?
Well, I mean, I suppose strikers are different than wingers. You know, I mean, I'm assuming. You take.
Well, obviously, the thing you'd think. Oh, sorry, go ahead. What I think he'll take players that can play both, which is possibly a reason to take Greenwood.
Yeah.
But and Rashford, 2 players can play both. That's the way they're going to get into the squad. Versatility, I think, is the key.
Rashford and Kane are definitely.
Yeah,
they're nailed on. They're nailed on to be in the squad. Bamford's choice.
I think Bamford's the wild card choice. I think I mean, you heard him. We'll obviously come on to the Leicester Leeds game, or we'll briefly mention it after the game. He said, he said, I think it was unfair. I think I was listening to Radio 5 Live when I was going to get diesel or whatever, and he was questioned about it, and he said that there's 4 or 5. I think he said 4 strikers ahead of him in terms of England, and I'd assume those 4 are bound to be Kane, Ings, Calvert-Lewin, and the 4th one was a weird one, but I would say that the 4th one is probably Mikel Antonio. I know we've sort of mentioned Watkins here, but I think it might be Antonio. Or maybe no, I don't know. The fourth one's a weird one, but I mean, you're guaranteed is Kane, Ings, and Calvert-Lewin. I think are the 3 that are probably ahead of him in
I'll put it this way: what's Bamford on? He's in about 13 goals. Or am I wrong? What 13?
It's at least 13. I think it's definitely on double digits.
It could be 12 or 13.
Say he does reach 20. 20 would be
20 for a promoted striker would be.
If he hit 20, like he's under serious consideration if he hits 20.
If he hits 20, they have to take him.
Well, yeah,
probably.
Are we saying that he hits 20 and the rest of them don't hit 20, or not the rest? Well, probably the rest of them.
No, I think just in general, he hits 20. It's absolutely ridiculous if he hits 20 goals.
Yeah, well, that is ridiculous.
If the rest of them do hit 20 or more, I think he should still be. He'd be right up there.
Yeah, well, I think he brings, and maybe it's the system. In fact, it is the system that he plays, and we'll talk about that next. But this is a good segue. The system he plays, he offers you so much more than an Ings or a Calvert-Lewin. And I'm not saying they're bad players, obviously, but they play different roles. But if you're looking for somebody who can sort of do it all, press from the front, can hold it up, has ability in terms of finding the back of the net. Fair, sometimes he's not as composed or gets as many goals as he should do. But I think Bielsa's coached him into a good Premier League striker, from a good Championship striker to a decent or good Premier League striker, and that shouldn't be overlooked. But yeah, talking of Bamford, Leeds Everton. As much as it pains me to say, I mean, I'm not ashamed of the performance, but beat Everton 1-2-1. And we've got comments or sort of feedback in that we haven't really talked about previous games. And I suppose today, now's a good chance anyway. We talk about Leicester losing 3-1 to Leeds, which was an unbelievable performance. Bamford in that game was just incredible. Whenever we talk about sort of doing it all, he did it all. But focusing on the Leeds Everton game, Everton coming off a big loss against Newcastle. This is obviously a big win for them.
Mm-hmm.
What does it take them? It takes them 4 points off top 4, but with 2 games in hand. What do we think their chances are?
Of top 4?
Yeah.
Thinking about tops, I think they're in that sort of top 8, top 7, and around there again.
Yeah. And it'll be quite contested.
It will be. It was a great result.
Absolutely.
Parts of it seemed they did play well. Maybe could have had a few more. First half, I didn't see the second half. Second half, I heard read as well. At Leeds, I think it was mostly all Leeds.
They couldn't get a glove on us. Rafinha decided that he was just going to tear them to shreds. I mean, obviously we didn't score. Well, he scored 1 goal, Bamford at the bar, but we should have at least got a point from the game. But Everton held out.
I think Everton had a few more half chances in the first half. Maybe could have scored more.
Yeah, they should have, I think.
But that'd be a sore one for Bielsa. I'm sure he wanted to kick on after beating Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, look, not getting 3 points is obviously a massive downside, and I agree with that. But I also think that Everton didn't really have a sniff, or in the second half anyway, didn't really have a sniff. I think he said today he'd rather finish 12th and he'd rather finish 12th and play well or play good football than finish 8th and not play good football. And I sort of agree with him, because you don't really get much difference the only difference you get is you get wee bit more money for finishing 8th. And if we finish 12th this season, that's a massive. That's an absolute result, considering this is, and I keep coming back, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but this is a Championship-based squad. The team that finished against Leicester was all Championship. I'd played in the Championship the season prior. But yeah, I think deep down it'll be quite sure for Bielsa to sort of not take the 3 points, or not at least get a point. So I agree with you there. We talked last week about Rafinha, and I just mentioned that Rafinha was unbelievable. I think.
Sorry, who? Rafinha? Oh wait.
Rafinha. Obviously not Leeds born as Dallas is.
Yep.
But yeah, again, he was just unbelievable. But I have to give credit to Lucas Digne. He ran him ragged. Rafinha ragged. He made Rafinha run ragged. He was just constantly up that left hand side, and with I'm not sure who it was in the left wing, but Ayling was occupied, so Rafinha had to track back. And I think that was I think it was Ancelotti's game plan, or it obviously was.
I think it's mind you said at the start there are much speed in the team. So whether they wanted
to bite me, I didn't really.
Maybe they wanted ball carriers, like boys decent in the ball, not much. Like your
Andre
Gomez and Sigurdsson, boys like that, and they're not blessed with pace, but they're comfortable enough in the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, the first goal was a late run from Sigurdsson in the box, and the Leeds players decided to stand around and look at the ball coming into the box rather than just putting their foot through it. Yeah. As frustrating as that was. Do we think? I mean, the Everton keeper, the backup keeper, made one or two good saves. Do we think keep Pickford out of the side, or do we think that as soon as Pickford is back, Ancelotti will fire him back in?
Well, it's another question of can we move us on to England goalkeeping? But I find obviously Pickford is in that team for one reason. He's a semi-good goalkeeper with a leg. I think that's all I can see really about Pickford. Olsen looks, you never know, because Olsen when he's played for Everton, he's looked pretty well. Looked good from what I've seen of that game. I find when teams put their starter forward, they never really, in terms of goalkeeper, they never rescind that. They never change it. I think the same thing happens. Obviously the counter that's Chelsea moving around their goalkeepers, but I think Pickford will get back into the squad pretty easily. I think it's the fact that Pickford's their actual goalkeeper, not on loan.
They did spend, what was it, 30 million on him, which at the time seemed like, he's worth 30 million. Now it seems like maniacal behaviour.
Like he's made mistakes in the past, and Ancelotti's put him straight back in there.
Yeah, I think.
So I think he'll put him in again. I think he missed his United match this weekend. I read today,
which is not a good thing for United.
It's not good. It's about
United wanted him in net, sort of.
Yeah. In terms of England goalkeepers, as Clive mentioned, is very poor at the minute.
Yeah, well, you've obviously Pope wasn't too great against.
Pope's not been great recently.
Pickford.
I was discussing this with Alan Work.
Who's that?
Phil Works, United fan. He was saying we were discussing who for Euros, and he was saying it'd probably be Henderson, and probably have to agree that's probably who it could be for the Euros.
Yeah, because then who you look at, Joe Hart.
Years ago,
I know it's a massive sort of jump, but that's the level.
Years ago, you had Tom Heaton, you had Butland, you had all these buttoned upcoming boys like that. Mm-hmm. And now, they seem to have a pile of goalkeepers. Now they seem like they don't have any of top quality.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the England goalkeeper situation is a weird one because Gareth Southgate stands by Pickford, and fair enough. I remember in the World Cup he made a few good saves. I think he made a few good saves against Colombia, but he's still not somebody who can rest your cap on. I mean, if Everton really wanted to kick on and go for push for Champions League football and then push for a title, you've got to get a new goalkeeper. And I think you can't rely on Pickford to win you 10 points a season like Alisson has done for Liverpool, like Ederson has done the odd time for Man City.
The World Cup helped and sort of hindered Pickford because of penalty saves and some big saves, and everybody's expecting that's him. He's
going to kick on.
He's the real deal, and he hasn't.
No, he's been massively exposed at times.
Maybe one player that's two people that are outside chances that are just coming into my head is maybe McCarthy.
Yes.
McCarthy and Ramsdale, maybe. They're both.
Ramsdale
doesn't play well for Sheffield, but he's an option. They're options. That's the only real people you can think about.
It's going to be Pickford, I think. Well,
it
will start, yeah.
I don't think it'll. Even with Pope's record, I don't think it's going to be Pope. No. I don't think it would, but I just.
I mean, Pope's a better goalkeeper than Pickford, I think, as much as he's been a wee bit inconsistent recently. But the problem is that Pope doesn't play with his feet. You know what I mean?
As Clive mentioned, Pickford's leg. We'll give him an advantage in terms of starting as well.
Boot, he's got a strong boot. So moving from Leeds Everton to we're talking about the goalkeeper. We're now going to move to former England manager in Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace away to Newcastle at St James's Park. They won 2-1. Roy seemed to have taken our advice from the last podcast, which well, I say our advice. I mean, used to discuss it. He started playing easy in the middle, and that seems to have sort of brewed more chances for him.
In my mind, there's not really much you can say about this game. Rywald's goal was luck because it had a big deflection on it. The goal when it went on. Two lower. It's another one I'm thinking about. It's two lower teams just battling it out. Really. Obviously Roy's got the one. Fair play. Two struggling teams at the minute. Both need a one. Palace were the ones that got the one. Fair play. Are we now going to the point of Steve Bruce it's ever closer to him getting done?
I was going to say that actually Newcastle dominated the game. Newcastle had 21 shots to 6, but they only had 5 on target. So I mean, they were playing the right football, or maybe Palace were playing to sort of allow them to play that football and then hit them on the counter. And then of course St Maximin came on and made an impact again. But, and this is going to come back to bite us because this weekend they'll beat Southampton. Football is about results, and Newcastle weren't getting said results.
It's so frustrating. I really fancy Newcastle to win that game, especially beating Everton. All that confidence, and now it's just shattered. Just a home game, and getting beat. Hopefully, a big performance again. They seem to be playing for Bruce. To be fair, I think the Everton game proved that, and they are attacking. They're trying to create chances.
Yeah, they're going for it. Obviously, in fact, they got 21 shots to 6. They're definitely going for it. Zaha for Palace is now injured, which is good for us on Monday night, I hope, because he's Palace's main danger. This is the chance then, isn't it, for Eze to step up and say, right, Zaha's good, but I'm just
not me.
And I hope he does. Cause I really like Eze. I remember, I have a friend who's a QPR fan. He said that he can go and he loved him. Like he can go and do big things. And we obviously discussed, or I said a few weeks ago on the podcast that Bielsa himself has said that Eze can go on a board class. So I mean, there's high praise for him. But maybe do we think the high praise is coming because he's English? Do you know what I mean?
Could be, but he does look genuine.
Yeah.
He does look the real deal. Of course, if he's English, we'll put the extra pressure on him. And when he's performing in that team, like Palace don't create a bag full of chances. Yeah, and he still stands out in that team. But yeah, keep him there, just keep improving and see where he goes.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I hope if you're a Palace fan, you sort of hope that him and Zaha can link up and do big things for them. That is if Zaha decides he wants to stay and stops his moaning.
Like Palace are going to get big money. Well, Zaha's different. Zaha's what is Zaha now? 27, 28?
Yeah, he's sort of coming to his prime now, yeah.
Say even to get 40, 50 million for him in a few years, to get 40, 50 million for Eze, that can be invested. Like, he could build himself a nice wee team.
Absolutely, you could build yourself a team of solid players as opposed to sort of
a core, yeah,
exactly, yeah. Whereas as opposed to a team of sort of decent players and sort of two sort of superstars that stand out.
I think what they need to think about too is Palace are now getting into a stream of most of their defenders are either 30 or reaching 30 or 30 and over.
Yeah.
So they need to get into this point now. They have to probably start they have to start reinvesting in there. Obviously, Cahill's over 30, still scoring goals, still scored the goal. Cahill. Tompkins, I think, over 30. Kouyate's getting there. But that's a point they have to think about themselves as to whether they're going to reinvest in that position or not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I think moving on. Yeah. We were happy enough. Moving on from Palace and Newcastle to a controversial game, to say the least, in Wolves versus Arsenal. Wolves won this game 2-1. Not a 9-man Arsenal. I think obviously the main point we're going to focus on is the David Luiz red card. What do we think?
Soft, but I can see why it was given. Only David Luiz knows. Obviously, his knee clipped him. It doesn't look intentional. Only he knows if he knew what he was, if he meant it, or if he didn't mean it. But yeah, very soft. But so that's the law now. He's clean through and he takes him out. But I always thought it was just I was not supposed to. The penalty was punishment enough. She'd only get yellow.
Yeah. There was no double jeopardy. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah. But I think we all agree. Yeah, it was soft. It was harsh.
And then of course the other yellow card was just sheer stupidity from Leno. I mean, what does he have?
You can see his face even when it happened.
He knew what he was at. Like, what are you don't? Yeah. Like, it wasn't like he could have taken.
He could have avoided it. Yeah.
He didn't have to go like that. He could have just kept it down by his side. And if it hits him whilst his hand is in down by his side, it's not. I don't think it's a red card because it's sort of down by his side. Whereas going to get there and punching in sort of got there, it just makes him guilty.
Yeah.
But I mean, Arsenal were unbelievable in the first half. And Arsenal could have been 2-3 up before that red card had happened.
Yep.
So there's definitely some promise there in that regard. But Wolves just took advantage of the 9-man.
Yeah.
And I think that's Wolves' first win in 8 matches. This is their 9th. 8 matches beforehand in the league they hadn't won, which was obviously a bit worrying if you're a Wolves fan. But I suppose now they're almost nearly clear of.
Well, they needed that.
Don't take it away from them. The fact that there was even though they did win, I don't think you can take it away from them as just saying, it's because of. They did obviously take over after the red card. Martinez's goal was brilliant. A very, very good goal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So even though they were down, even though Arsenal went down to 9 men, I don't think you can really take it away from the fact that Wolves did win that game. They're hopefully, I do really love that Wolves team. They play very well together when they get their chances. So hopefully they do. This is a turning point for them. Get back in. Maybe, obviously, we spoke before about Raul. Maybe William Jose can get them playing. Can get a good start. Get a good couple of games going for them at striker. So hopefully they do turn it around. I do really enjoy their style. I do really like that midfield combination. So, also good luck to them at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're 12 points above the relegation zone. I mean, short of Fulham doing a Leicester from 6 or 7 years ago, you can't sort of see them getting dragged into that fight. There's 3 or 4 teams in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be curious to see how well Jose does.
Mm.
You know, I mean, when is Raul Jimenez expected back?
I'm not 100% sure. I think they're putting him on more. They're slowly bringing him back into training. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, you heard them saying that he was doing very, very light training.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure, but they need him as soon as possible. Soon as possible.
You can't mess.
You can't rush it. You can't rush it. You can't rush it. Definitely not.
Definitely
not with that. Not with that type of injury.
Head injuries are so.
Wolves are safe, and if it's one of them years, they're not as great as they've been previous years. Just even just give him as much rest as he needs. Like it's
yeah. every team sort of has that sort of blip year. They sort of a few good years and then sort of have a wee bit of a blip.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the relegation zone. This was the next match is the relegation battle battle for the bottom spot in Sheffield United versus West Brom, which Sheffield United won 2-1, and that takes Sheffield United 3 points off of Fulham. Is it 3 points off of Fulham?
West Brom.
Yeah. No, sorry. Sheffield United takes Sheffield United. Is it 3 points off West Brom?
West Brom, I think. Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, there's my mistake. Fair play. Sheffield United, they've considering everybody was thinking they were gonna just be near enough as bad as Derby was in 2007, 2008. They've turned it around.
Mm.
It was a good game.
It was.
When I watched West Brom taking the lead. You thought Sheffield will struggle to even score, especially the way they conceded. But no, fair play. They flew boys forward. They attacked and they got the rewards.
Yeah, we should obviously give massive credit to Sheffield United. Big Sam per again. That's no wins in 4 for him now.
No.
They brought him in to take them up or keep them up and make it comfortable, and he's completely fallen apart. And it's really shown that his football belongs to the dinosaurs. I think we'll come on to the next point next. It was a deserved win for Sheffield United. They had 14 shots to 8 and 6 on target to 4. As you say, Harper, you couldn't see them coming back into it, but they played themselves back into it.
Oh, they did. They had a great performance. Plenty of chances, and as I said, eventually the shots were going to go in, and they did. Just that second half, West Brom never looked like getting anything out of the game.
When did they ever look like they're going to get something out of the game?
I think that was all down to Sheffield.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do we think that leaves Fulham 8 points off of 8 points off of safety, and thus them two are then sort of a few points more than that? Do we think the bottom three is decided? Or is it because of the nature of the season that there's always a chance?
It could be. Could be it, yeah.
I think it is going to be it. I think obviously Fulham did invest in some players, brought people in on loan, obviously. Some good players in on loan. To be fair, Mitrovic is starting to play better for them at the minute, getting some good assists, getting some good balls played around the place, not elbowing anyone in the face. But I think it's very interesting to see with Sheffield how much it's really been down to Basham. I think Basham is the player that's going to help Sheffield get where they want to be, is obviously out of the bottom three. Basham's played very well recently, and then obviously it's the wing backs that are scoring the goals. So it seems to be the wing backs that are scoring most of their goals. Obviously, I think it's Byrne, isn't it? Keane Byrne scored the last game.
Yeah, Bogle,
and then Bogle scored this one, I think. Bogle scored the first.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's some players in those three teams that are looking disinterested, which is obviously. I know Matt Phillips scored the goal for West Brom, but then when you look at him when they're defending, he just looks like can't be bored. I think it's the fact that Matt Phillips was the player for West Brom for so long. I think he's been there. He has been there for a good long time now, and he's played well for them when they've been in the Championship.
Yeah, well, I think he was definitely there one of the last time they were actually in the Premier League.
He was.
He's been there for a fair portion of time.
I think it's those kind of players that are bringing those teams down. To be fair, there's not many of them in Fulham. Fulham are playing for Parker as best they can. I I just think, obviously, you said is that this topsy-turvy season, there always is a possibility that those three teams might not get relegated. You never know.
Take a monumental collapse.
It would take a monumental effort. It would take a monumental effort for them all to stay up. But it's just, I think it is decided at this stage. I think there's just not enough. There's not enough in them three squads at the moment to do it. There's not enough.
There's enough Phillips for West Brom. I think he's too good. I think for West Brom. The only 3 games I've seen, he's not even started. He hasn't played it. Which maybe it could be frustrating him. He probably knows himself. He's better than what's there.
That's why I think he's just staying off, and he's just not interested when it comes to defending. I just think he's just not wanting to be there anymore.
He is too good to be there. He's not a player to sit in the team that just parks the bus and sits there. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So the bottom 3 are near enough decided. Then we think. Well, it'll come back to bite us, I'm sure, at some stage, as it has before.
But hopefully.
So moving from we're talking about Fulham there, in the relegation battle, in that sort of sense, to their game against Leicester, where Leicester won 2-0. I mean, a real dominant performance from Leicester, considering they just came off a 3-1 loss to ourselves. Not that I'm gloating.
Not at all.
They limited Fulham to 1 shot on target. We praised Parker in previous weeks for the work that he's done with Fulham. That was that a real good game plan from Fulham? Or not Fulham, sorry, Leicester, or what do you think?
Parts I've seen at Leicester were dominant. Fulham could barely get a foot in. It was just nearly most of the times I've seen it was just chance after chance for Leicester. Good solid result. From the parts I've seen anyway, it looked a decent enough game.
I think it's one of them ones you say it's an expected result. It's one of our ones we're going for. Obviously, a season where anything can happen, but it's one of them ones. I think, obviously, the Leeds game was just a blip on the road. But you gain Madison flying, 2 assists. Iheanacho getting a goal, which was good to see from them. I think it's just a good game from Leicester. I think it's just a point you have to think. There you go. We're showing that we have. It was just a blip, and we're just showing our dominance again.
Yeah, absolutely. Fulham now, no wins in 11. I think we talked about that last week, the week before, that they were sort of just not getting the results. I mean, when you see Brighton pull away, sort of be 8 points clear, there seems to be no real. The players are playing for Scott Parker, as I said, but there seems to be no inspiration in there. There's no real spark or that type of player. What do you think? What would you change?
They brought in, what's his name from Bordeaux, Josh Maja, I think it is. Hopefully he can stick a few in the net. They were linked with Josh King. I was hoping they would beat Everton to sign him. Thought he would have fitted in well, big, powerful striker with speed. That didn't happen. So hopefully Maja can come in and put a bit of confidence in there, a bit of life, and hopefully score a few goals and get them a few wins, hopefully.
I think they need a more creative central mid. Obviously Zambo and Guiza, and it's been Lamina or it's been Harrison Reed playing. Reed over the last couple of weeks where I've seen him come on or he's played, I think he's been very impressive. He's good player. Zambo's a good defender, obviously. I think they just maybe if they played Loftus-Cheek in the centre mid instead of playing. I think they've been playing mostly out wide at the moment.
I keep doing that with Lamina as well. He likes these little midfielders out at wing backs for whatever reason.
But I think giving him a go in that centre mid role, because when we've seen Loftus-Cheek be in form, I think he's been a very good playmaker. Obviously, he's got the height on him too. So if in centre mid, he's perfect. He's a perfect player, really. Good height. Obviously, ball's been lumped up. He's going to be able to get headers. But I think it's the same situation with Southampton. They need more creative sparks in midfield. I think that's what they need.
An interesting one with Fulham is they have a whole lot of players on loan. Are they? I could be wrong, but are they? I don't know what way to say it. Like, do they know what it is they fight? Like they stay up. They could be thinking to themselves, if we don't, sure, we're going to go elsewhere next year anyway.
Yeah. Do they?
Some of them are going to stay. Yeah.
Do they have the passion to sort of play for Fulham, so to speak?
Yeah. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But it's one of them ones.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's a good argument. I think it's a good argument to ask. You look at sort of Brighton, who fought their way through. Brighton have no loan, but very few loan players anyway. They're all sort of. They're a group. They're a core. Same with Burnley, Newcastle. To be fair, for the most part, have been a core for the past while.
Yep.
Wolves the same. You look at the teams that are all above them and right up through the league. I'm trying to think is there any real exceptions? But I don't think there is. I think the one constant is that they're all a team. They've been together from day dot. There's no we're all sort of lone players thrown together.
Yeah.
And hoping for the best. It's fine to have one or two lone players, obviously. I mean, Leeds did it last year with Ben White.
Yeah.
It's fine, obviously, if they supplement the squad in the right way, absolutely. But as you say, Harper, to have the core of the squad be lone players, it's never going to work because, the core of a squad should be they play together all the time. They know each other. They can sort of play off each other.
Like Ariola's on loan, Lamina's on loan. I think they signed Reid from Southampton.
Anderson's on loan.
Anderson's on loan with an option to buy, whether they buy him or not. Lookman's on loan. Somebody else.
Yeah. I think the only one that you can really say he's got someone to have chemistry with is Anderson, because obviously he played with Terry at Lyon. So they will have chemistry of playing together. But I think it's all their loanees are coming. It's right to say, Harvard or Perkle, the loanee players that they've brought in are all coming from winning teams that have won at where they were the season before. Obviously, Loftus-Cheek from Chelsea, Anderson from Lyon,
Teddy the same,
Areola, and from PSG. I think it's the point that you're right to make it. They're all coming in from teams, but these players that were in these teams weren't starting. I don't think anyway. Anderson might have been at Lyon. I'm not 100% sure. So I think they've got these group of players who want to show their worth, and they've all came into this Fulham side, and they want to bring themselves together and show their club they came from that they deserve a starting position maybe next season when they go back. Or maybe if Fulham buy them themselves. I don't know Fulham's pricing situation. But I think what they need to find, these group of players are they're ready to play. And I think Parker's got them on a situation where they know what he wants from them. That's on the board. It's just as to whether they do it. That's the point. Parker has what he wants, but it's whether they want to play for him.
I just think. Oh
no. Go ahead.
As even if they stay up, them boys going to be back, and it's going to be pretty hard to sign. You're going to be going with a brand new team again next year. You're going to go out and signing different players, and then you're back to square one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at the three promoted sides, and obviously I have a bit of bias here, but West Brom, much larger the same side that got them promoted, sort of that same core, but the difference is they're playing different football than what Bullock had asked of them. Fulham's the opposite in that, they've got the same manager, the same idea, the same ideology, the same tactics, but not a largely different side, but the core of it is sort of Ruben Loftus-Cheek on loan, as we literally just discussed. They're all sort of loan players. Whereas with Leeds, the reason it's working is because, they just know what to do. You know what I mean? And I think that's obviously the teams who have succeeded over the past few years have had an identity and have had a core squad together that know how to play with each other.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And I think that's the problem with Fulham, and obviously with as we've just discussed with West Brom, is they don't know their identity, and they're not playing for the club. But yeah, I mean that's.
Well, there's a question.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, there's a question there you could put forward. Do you think those two teams would play the same under Bielsa? Would you think they would be in the same standard as Leeds if they had that manager? I think Fulham might be. Fulham might have that potential.
Fulham might be. I don't know about the other two.
I don't think West Brom would, but I think.
I'm trying to think of the squad West Brom have. Maybe not.
No.
I don't know if Bielsa would have them relegated. I think it would be more of a dogfight, to be fair. I think Bielsa would be more of a scrap with West Brom. I think Fulham, I mean, you look at the players they have, I think Bielsa would do quite well with them.
Yeah.
But they don't have them, and we do, so
yep.
Happy days. But I mean, we've always just focused on Fulham there and on what they're doing wrong and what's going wrong for them. But I mean, Leicester were just unbelievable on the night.
Yeah,
they take much away from them. Yeah. So now on to our final game of the weekend, which was the well, to put it lightly, it was the dud of the week.
Worst.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I turned it off after about 45 minutes because it was the most dire, and I don't mean to use the pun dire. It was the worst 45 minutes football I've seen all season, and not because of Chelsea. Chelsea actually played okay.
Yeah,
Mourinho wasn't interested whatsoever in playing football, and that's the issue. And that's the end of the podcast.
I wish.
So I mean, Chelsea were dominant. They had 18 shots to 7. However, they had the same amount of shots on target as Spurs, which was 2. From 18 shots, they had 2 on target.
I think obviously fair play to Chelsea. They dominated the game. Tuchel's got them playing a lot better than they did under Frank, and within 3 games, you can see that.
Sorry to interrupt me, Klein. That wouldn't be hard. I mean, I could get
them
playing
better. It wouldn't be hard, but
wait, you're not going to slag Lampard.
No, sorry.
Lampard, don't slag Lampard.
Oh, sorry.
I think it is the point. They were on Chelsea in some situations were unlucky not to score more. Obviously, that great tackle from Aurier that sent the ball over the bar from what I thought was going to be a sure goal for Werner.
That was Werner though, so happy days.
It was Werner, so happy days. But it was just a really boring match. As I said to you in the group chat, I was nearly falling asleep watching it. But what if they do? It is really a point to say that they're right. Tottenham are absolutely nothing without Harry Kane.
Yeah.
They're not a good. They're obviously when Lamela and Lucas came on, they had bright spots. But that's the only reason they had bright spots because they actually took shots. They actually decided they should.
Yeah.
It was bad for Vinicius. I felt bad for Vinicius because I think it was his first Premier League start, and he was up front on his own. No one near him, couldn't do anything with the ball. The ball was lumped up to him, and then there was no one around him.
Yeah.
Heung-min Son was poor, very, very poor. Didn't see much of him the whole night. Didn't look interested. Obviously, the penalty was a clear penalty. It was a stupid tackle from Dyer. It was
Maniac.
There was no chance in hell he was getting that ball.
No.
There's no he was on the ground and the ball was a mile away from him and he just kicked Werner. Surprised they didn't get more than fucking yellow. I thought he might have been fucking sent off for it. It wasn't a brutal challenge, but it was fucking needless.
Yeah.
Jorginho getting back maybe on his penalty form that he was on.
So much.
It's hard. Bright spots you can think about. Mount played well.
In regards to Spurs, there's
Mount
none.
Played okay.
There's none for
There's
Spurs.
no bright spots for Spurs at all. There's just
like this. That's just something
negative football, as I said earlier.
You describing Spurs and how poor Spurs were, and Chelsea only stuck one past them.
Yeah,
and Chelsea's getting all this massive praise. Fair enough. You went and got the results, but our weaker team stuck 3 past them last week, and Chelsea's the finished article now. By the sound of it, but we're not allowed to slag Chelsea on this podcast.
Not allowed to slag Chelsea.
Well,
I mean, I think
Marcus Alonso played well.
Yeah, we'll come to Chelsea. Or no, actually, maybe we'll finish with Spurs. Tuchel's now has them playing some good football. To be fair to him, he's unbeaten now. Here's a question: and obviously it's, I don't know if it was earlier to say it last week. I think we're sort of saying maybe that it wasn't the players. It isn't the players that Frank has it at his disposal to do much better than he was. Do we agree?
Yeah, that could be an experience factor. Tuchel's he's been around big players, big personalities. Sort of came straight in there, and I think it was Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think I read today said he's came in there. He wants them to play well and win as quick as possible. And I think that's given the squad the confidence to push on, and you've seen that in their first 3 games under him.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Ian.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Hudson-Odoi has been one of their big bright spots, I think, with the way they're playing with that. I think they're still playing with that 3-5, 3-5, 2-1 or whatever, or 3.
Yeah, both they're playing with 3-5-2-1.
3-4-3.
3-4-3, 3-4-2-1. Something like that. He's putting, as they said on the. I think it was either Sky or BT, I'm not quite sure. He's kind of the perfect player for that kind of style, because he's a fighting player. He does what he does. He's the fact that it's a young player that wants to get into Chelsea's squad, that probably deserves to get into Chelsea's squad, because they say none of their attackers are playing that well, but none of their attackers are playing that well. Just the fact that he's one of the, after he got, I think he got injured last season, didn't he? At one stage, and he was in the squad before that. But I think now when under Tuchel, he's going to progress even more, 100%.
I think for Chelsea anyway, and this is a hot take. Sorry, excuse me, and it might come back to bite me. I think for Chelsea, he'll do more than what Eden Hazard did for Chelsea. And obviously, he's that few years younger than him and all this here. And I do think with the right coaching and the right style, I think he'll do more than Eden Hazard. And obviously I'm not a big Eden Hazard fan anyway.
Write that down, Glenn. Write that down.
You can clip it up. Go ahead.
Hudson-Odoi is a better player than Hazard.
I don't know if he's a better player, but he'll do
more.
Chelsea.
We'll take it. We'll take it as he thinks he's a better player.
Which yeah, that's fair. Finishing on Spurs. Not something I ever want to think of. To finish on Spurs' football. Again, so defensive and so poor. They have no identity. And this is my last point I wrote down. The players seem done with the football.
As like does Mourinho last the season? Spurs in a tough situation. I wouldn't be surprised over the Euros. I wouldn't be surprised Harry Kane leaves in the summer. Harry Kane is a big decision to make.
We keep making this point whenever we talk about managers, but it's such an appropriate point for managers right now. Is that if you get rid of a manager, who do you bring in? Do you know? And I'm asking that to myself as well. Like if you you bring in I'm trying to think Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
Right. You go Rafa Benitez, obviously. That's not
Rodgers, but he'll cost a fortune.
Rodgers, but would he? I mean, would he leave? If you were Rodgers, would you leave Leicester for Spurs? I mean, obviously you're leaving Leicester to go to that attacking team or that attacking talent in Son and Keane. But then you look at the rest of the side, and there's nothing really there that says that screams, I'm better than Leicester.
Yeah, but you have excitement to go in there knowing you can change that.
Yeah.
The only players that I see as having a bright spot for Spurs, the only players that I see that want to do anything is Højbjerg and Aurier. I know I was down on Aurier for a long time. Not saying he was very not had no understanding as why Doherty wasn't playing ahead of him. But it's the only two players that really put up a fight.
I'd have to say Ndombele is another one that I think's been.
Oh, Ndombele, but I think he's fell off the last couple of games. I think Ndombele from what I've seen. Fair. But it's just the fact that they just had no interest in playing. It's the fact that Højbjerg was sitting. From what I've seen them at one point. They had the ball. I think it was either Roden. I don't know if Roden played, did I? I don't even remember. It was either, I think it might have been Dyer had the ball on the right hand side of their box. I think Ndombele was standing in the middle of the park just behind one of Chelsea's midfielders. No way of getting the ball, and then Højbjerg was just standing beside him. I think the fact that they stand there for so long and they're just flat in their heels all the time, and it's not to say it's disappointing that Spurs are playing poor, but from a team that plays so well whenever they decide to attack and go at it, and now this stupid defensive football that Mourinho plays when he's playing bigger sides, even against lower sides he plays it sometimes. It's just sad to see, for not Spurs but football in general, to see what it's coming to.
Yeah, but he's just stubborn. He wants to try and prove that he can win a title playing that way. He's not going to win a title at Spurs playing the way he is.
Yeah, it's a similar idea to Sean Dyche in that there's going to be teams that'll, at some stage, there'll be too many teams that'll play better football and get more results than Sean Dyche, and there already is too many teams that play better football and can get better results than Jose Mourinho.
I'm saying, Kane is a big decision. So you make sure if Kane walks, Kane leaves Spurs.
Well, I mean, if Kane goes, then somebody could just come on to Son and say, look, we'll give you, we'll just express interest in Son, and Son will want to go, because why would Son want to stay there and play with second-rate players for the most part? There's a few decent players, but mostly second-rate.
Why would Kane want to stay there? What are Spurs going to win? He does have a big decision in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he has a good Euros, I mean, he's already proven himself to be a world-class striker, if not, maybe not the best striker, and one of the best in the world in terms of strikers. If he has a good Euros and Spurs don't qualify for Champions League, or even if they qualify for Europa League, I still think he has to just say, I want to play at the top level for,
Like, even if you likes of United, Chelsea don't come sniffing around for him.
Because I mean, Kane's already given them so many years. Do you know what I mean? There's years when he should have went, and he said, "No, I'll stay," and he's continued to do that. And now it's at the stage of maybe we should just go, because it's not looking any brighter.
Could Kane be City's replacement for Aguero? No.
I think
the only teams I could see him at was United or Chelsea, I think.
Yeah. Do you think City's system suits Kane?
To be fair, no.
I was thinking that myself.
It's just the fact that's a team that would have the money to get him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it could work with him, but I just think he would be suited better to different systems.
Going back to Tottenham as a whole, I think if Kane goes, that whole team crumbles. I think it'll just be players being sold left, right, and centre.
Yeah, well, we've already sort of seen them crumble a wee bit in terms of their form. Kane's been injured.
Crumbling for playing, but I think as a team in general, and the backs, it's just like, because players they'll obviously not lose people like Bergwijn because they've only bought him.
Still, I mean, he's been there long enough. You could sell him, or he would want to go.
But it's the fact that there's players on there that probably could the players on that team that could win other places. Players like your human sons, like your Keans, like even your Hoiberg. You can slot into any team in the top four easily that hasn't Tottenham.
Well, I think. Sorry to interrupt, but if Jordan Henderson retired, and obviously it's another few years yet, or say Jordan Henderson began to have to manage his games, would you take him at Liverpool? Hoiberg?
No.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just sort of wanted to present the question.
I'd say I don't care. I'd say no, but I think I'd say I would. I'd say I would take him because I think he's kind of like handling the fact that he does work hard when he wants to. But that's the point of you're getting on your likes of Pogba and stuff like that. There, he's a player that plays well and is very good when they want to be.
Yeah.
As to whether it's, as I say, a backroom thing where they don't want to play for Mourinho anymore and none of them are going to try to play well. That's the thing you have to look at. But at the start of the season, they were flying. Every player in that team was playing well. Even up to recently, every player in that team was nearly playing well. It's just the fact that Kane got injured, and then now they've just all decided, it seems over. And he's not even going to for that long.
You hear that where Mourinho goes, there's always a player or two he always falls out with.
Yeah, I mean, Dele Alli.
Dele Alli, and he done it with Jorge at the start. Where he goes.
Did it with Luke Shaw at United? He sort of just.
Yeah. Pogba even.
Pogba,
yeah. But back to if Keane or even Son leaves, that's going to just tell the rest of the players they don't want to be here. Why should I be here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if Son leaves, it's sort of like, well, he was only here for a few years, sort of. But if Kane leaves, that's he's Mr. Spurs, so to speak, that type of idea. If he isn't there, why should I? That's
exactly.
Now, what does it look forward to? There's
particularly for playing under Mourinho, what's there to look forward to? Just to finish up, why wouldn't you take Højbjerg at Liverpool, Harper? Just a quick fire.
He is doing well, but I don't know if I rate him as highly as others do. He is busy and all, but he just needs a lot. He does a lot defensively, but even when he gets on the ball, I just don't think he makes enough happen. It's not as Henderson's world class; he didn't making stuff happen, but I just don't rate him as highly as others. I think there'd be far better options out there.
And also I think a big thing that I just thought about there now was how he sort of left Southampton, where he just came out and said, "I don't want to be here anymore."
Yeah.
I think that's a measure of the player. If that's the type of player you're dealing with, maybe he won't last very long at Spurs then. So yeah, there we are. Another episode done and dusted.
Shout out to John Stewart if he's watching.
There we are. There's our first shout out. We'll be back next week, obviously, with another episode, and that week next week we'll focus on the big game. Maybe we said the biggest game of the season was Liverpool United, so we can't really. One of the biggest games of the season in bloody Liverpool, and all the games that centre around that there. But yeah,
some like FA Cup ties as well.
Some FA Cup ties in there as
West Ham and United, Leicester and Brighton, Everton and Tottenham. So
there we are.
Going to be a very interesting week.
What he said. So thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you later, I suppose. Cheers, mate.